Again, thank you everyone. Hi, and thank you everyone for joining us today with another one of those Coffee with the Dean events that we started last October. There are a lot of negative things about COVID, but there are also some interesting events took place since the beginning of this pandemic. And Coffee with the Dean is one of them that we started in October to reach out to our alumni, to our friends, to our students, even on our campus, to sit down and talk about some of the important topics that we are working in the College of Engineering and get you guys engaged with the college. And in order to establish this sequence of talks, we focused on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. For example, the last presentation focused around health and well-being. We had another one in the area of water and sanitation. And all the past Coffee with the Dean events were recorded and is on our YouTube channel. Maybe Audrey can send that channel email address to you so you know where it is if you want to take a look at. And today, this is one of these, again, area that is listed as 7th goal, Sustainable Development Goal, which is around, again, ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy. So we call this affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy is just a new future. And we have invited a couple of our alumni, a faculty member, Dr. Kaisen Wang, who is a professor of electrical engineering, and also Dr. Simon Ng, who's a professor of chemical engineering, who's leading our energy research and education in the college. He can briefly touch upon those as we start the conversation. With further ado, let me bring Simon on board, and so Simon can start talking to you a little bit about what's going on in the college around energy research and education. Simon?
Thank you, Farshad. Welcome again to the Coffee with the Dean series with today's topic on affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy. My name is Simon Ng. I'm a professor of chemical engineering and materials science. I have been with the college for over 30 years, and my research focus is on renewable energy and energy storage. I will be the moderator for today's session. According to the report by the National Academy of Engineering, energy is one of the top 10 grand challenges faces the mankind. The College of Engineering has a long history of research and education program in energy. Almost 20 years ago, we established the first interdisciplinary graduate program in alternative energy technology in the nation. As energy research and curriculum does not belong to one single engineering discipline, it takes an interdisciplinary effort that involves chemical, mechanical, electrical, civil, and industrial engineering. With a focus on renewable energy, Wang State also established a national biofuel energy lab with an industrial consortium including Bosch, Chrysler, Delphi, Tardec, biodiesel industry, and Next Energy. The new energy future may include hydrogen, the so-called hydrogen economy. Again, I believe Wang State demonstrated the first fuel cell vehicle. It is a Mercedes A-Series vehicle as a campus police vehicle some 15 years ago. The vehicle back then can only hold 2 kilograms of hydrogen and has a driving range of only about 80 miles. The latest fuel cell vehicle that is testing, demonstrating on the California's hydrogen highway now had a driving range of almost like 500 miles. One can see what technology advancement can do towards the zero emission vehicles. Wang also established an electrical drive vehicle engineering curriculum with a $5 million DOE award. It is a comprehensive, interdisciplinary bachelor, master, and graduate certificate program that train the much needed skilled workforce to support the emerging electric vehicle industry. As our motto says, electrifying the economy, educating the workforce. So what's next? What is the new energy future? Our distinguished panelists will discuss the various aspects of the affordable, renewable, and sustainable modern energy infrastructure. Our first panelist is Mr. David Howard. Mr. Howard is the Director of Renewable Energy of DTE Energy. His responsibility includes renewable energy project development, vendor agreements, regulatory compliance, purchase power contracts, and renewable energy operations. Mr. Howard has almost 40 years experience with DTE on various energy management positions. He has a BS in chemical engineering from the University of Michigan and an MBA from the Baker's College. Mr. Howard.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So yeah, thanks for having me. And thank Dean and the Wayne State team for having me join you today. Just a quick introduction of DTE in this space. For those of you who may not be aware, we're Michigan's largest electric utility. We're also Michigan's largest investor to date in renewable energy. We've put about $3 billion of investment into renewable energy projects since 2010. And we've got big plans to further accelerate that investment and that growth over the coming years. In the few minutes I've got with you today, I wanted to show and discuss three primary reasons that are driving our investment in this space, above and beyond, I guess, the obvious one, which is that climate change being a key, probably most important policy factor of our time. And we're certainly trying to affect that. But in addition to that, there's three reasons that I want to get into. So before I get there, I just wanted to talk to this slide, which gives some context as to where we've been, where we are today and where we're going. DTE was one of the first utilities in the country in 2017 to announce a significant goal toward carbon reduction. Most utilities, if not all of them in the country now, have similar goals. But, and since 2017, we've tensioned that goal a few times. Our goal currently is that we will achieve 40% carbon reduction by 2040, or 80% carbon reduction by 2040, and net zero by 2050. And as you can see from the chart, we're somewhere in the 25 to 30% reduction from 2005 levels already. So we're well on this journey. This has been our accomplishments to date have been the result of retiring of coal plants and the growth of renewables, obviously, a license extension of our nuclear plant, and a number of energy efficiency programs that we offer for our customers. So we can go to the next slide if you don't mind. So let's get into these three reasons really quickly. The first reason is actually a mandate passed by the Michigan legislature in late 2008, the Public Act 295, which for the first time in Michigan set a renewable portfolio standard for the electric utilities in Michigan, requiring that by 2015, all of our electric sales be sourced by at least 10% renewable energy. And then in 2016, after DTE and the other utilities had achieved that 10%, the legislature updated that law with Public Act 342, which set a renewable portfolio standard goal of 15% by 2021. And so DTE met, like I say, that 10% target in 2015, and last year had our plan to get to 15% approved by the Public Service Commission, and we have projects either already built and in operation or on their way to being in operation by the end of this year that'll get us to that 15% goal. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is cost. As many of you may have heard, you know, there's a common mistruth that renewable energy is really expensive. And if you, in 10 years ago, that was definitely true. But I think there's this misconception out there that this still exists and that renewable energy only is economically viable because of federal tax credits or other subsidies that may be in place. What I'm showing here on the left is a chart that indicates the range of wind and solar levelized costs, dollars unit cost, dollars per megawatt hour over the life cycle of a project, and how that's come down significantly for both wind and solar over the last 10 years. And in fact, right now, I know we are building wind and solar projects in Michigan today for somewhere in the neighborhood of $45 to $50 a megawatt hour levelized unit cost. That equates to 4.5 to 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And you can see on the chart, I don't have the red dotted line in the key, but that red dotted line is basically the same apples to apples levelized cost for a base load combined cycle natural gas plant. So we have achieved parity for the most part with other assets. We certainly still have the issues of intermittency versus base load and are working through those kind of things. But as you can see, on the right, the corresponding increase in renewable energy as a percent of electric generation nationwide. So I guess we can go to the next slide quickly and get to reason number three, which right now actually is the largest driver of our growth in this space, and it's high customer demand. We are now building renewable energy assets well above the 15% requirement to supply My Green Power, which is a DTE voluntary program for customers that want to essentially green up their bill or their usage and reduce their carbon footprint resulting from electricity. And so we launched this program in 2017, predominantly targeting residential and small commercial customers, and now have more than 25,000 customers on this program. This is a program that allows them to access or subscribe to the output of these incremental renewable assets that we're building, and have that impact showing up in their bill at whatever percentage they're interested in subscribing to, all the way up to 100%. It's a significantly cheaper option for customers, for those that are also considering perhaps privately owned or rooftop solar, for example. And it also gives them the ability to drop in and out of the program. So there's no long-term commitment or upfront cost to sign up. We then in 2019 launched another version of My Green Power for large industrial customers and large commercial customers. And you can see on the slide here a few of the logos from the many companies that have signed up in big ways. So to give you some context here, we have about 450 megawatts of new renewable capacity that's going to be coming online in the next couple of months. And that is above and beyond the 15% requirement. It is entirely for this program, and it is already completely sold out through these customers. In fact, 90% of that output is already subscribed to General Motors, Ford, and the University of Michigan. We have another 500 or so megawatts coming online, and there hasn't started construction yet, but will be online by the end of 2022. That is also almost sold out even before we've put a shovel in the ground. And so DTE is not only, like I say, complying with and taking advantage of the low costs, but we're responding to this huge customer demand for renewable energy. And on a kilowatt hour basis, in just a couple short years, we've now created the second largest voluntary renewable program in the country. So we're very proud of that. So we can go to the next slide, which I think my last one here, which just gives you a sense of where our projects are in the state right now. We have 15 wind projects online, 31 solar projects, and a few others. And like I said, we've got another almost 1,000 megawatts coming online in the next year, 2 years, in addition to what I'm showing here. So we've got big plans going forward. We expect our My Green Power program to continue to grow and our customers to continue to ask for more renewable energy, which we will supply. And I think that's probably closes out my comments, and I can pass it back to the moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Our next panelist is Mr. Rafi Adepheller. Mr. Adepheller is the Executive Director of Business Development and Prospecting of CMS Enterprise. He identifies, develops, and implements the company's strategic goal across its wind, solar, biomass, and natural gas generation and storage portfolio. Mr. Adepheller also serves as Director and Senior Business Development Manager with Consumer Powers. He has a master's degree in electrical engineering from Wang State University and an MBA from the University of Michigan. He's also a licensed professional engineer. Mr. Adepheller.
Thank you, Simon. I hope you can hear me okay, everybody. Good morning, everybody. And today is Happy Friday from Michigan. It's a beautiful day outside, and I'm glad to be here. First of all, thanks for all the team which helped me do this presentation and help me in the process. So as the topic says, that there are 4 words I saw in the topic: affordability, reliability, sustainability, and modern. So I'm going to have 4 slides to present to address those 4 words. The first one is affordability, and I added another word to it, is value. Affordability is a relative term. It depends on the social status or financial status you are in. So I wanted to talk about the electricity, what comes to your at your home, how it is developed, and what's the cost aspect of that electricity. And here I projected my own electric bill, which was most recent to my December 2020. You know that this is the time where everybody is staying home with 24/7 presence, and a lot of people at home working and using all their appliances and everything. So that's what I thought that now this may be a good representation of everybody on this call. So I looked at the electricity bill, and you can see that there are multiple charges there. Sometimes understanding the bill is very helpful to everybody. The couple of things is actually the generation cost. One thing is there, and the other one is power supply non-capacity charge. Those are the two main categories, cost categories. And the last one I would like to point out is the distribution, which is basically, which Dave talked about. It's a significant cost of bringing that electricity to your home with all the physical network, which is the poles and wires, and all the equipment goes with that. So I calculated, this is what I did. I calculated my per day cost of my home electricity in December month when we were using 24/7 staying home. It came out to be $7. So when I compared that one with a Starbucks coffee, I found out that Starbucks is $2.75 is the average cup, which basically my kids tell me that it's not the case anymore. It's almost like $4 now. So it's like 2 cups of coffee per day. That is the average cost of electricity for my home, and one of the most electricity demand month of the year. And if you look at across the typical residential household, they consume about 875 kilowatt hours a month. That's about $163. Again, this is the cost based on the 18 cents per kilowatt hour rate, which fortunately my electricity comes from DTE, and that's the price I pay. So for all practical purposes, affordability should always be combined with value. And for an uninterrupted service of electricity, quality of electricity, what is the price we are willing to pay? The question is 18 cents is the right price? I don't know. But for all practical purposes, I see the value of electricity I get to my home or to anybody's business. So that's how we should be looking at. Our company, we don't look at the unit rate. We always look at, what is the average cost they pay with respect to their average income. We try to be within 3 to 4% of the average income of your household as utility bill. And that should be, we believe that it is the right price to pay. Okay. Sometimes it could be higher, sometimes it could be lower, but that's the gauge we try to measure against. Next slide, please. Then the second word I have is reliability. This is straight out of textbook. Why reliability matters is, if you are following the Texas incidents in the last a couple of weeks, or maybe in a month, you will see that why reliability is of significant importance. There are 4 categories which Department of Energy measures reliability in. The first one is sufficient to meet peak demand. If you know that peak demand is not something happens every day. It happens maybe 10-15 days in a year and a certain time only. So it could be maybe 15 or 20 minutes or even maybe a couple of hours. But we are tasked to meet that demand every year without any failures. So that is a key capacity requirement for us to maintain. The second one is the flexibility to address variability and uncertainty. That is true. I mean, whenever temperature changes or load changes, we're not going to go out and establish new wiring system and everything, because our system has to be able to meet the flexibility and variability of this one. So that is something that we have to pay attention to, and that is a key requirement for us. The last 2 items are steady frequency and maintaining voltage. Those are all the ones I call it as quality of electricity. It's electrons, but if you are an industrial customer or commercial customer, you will really value these 2 qualities, steady frequency and maintain voltage. And whatever our generation portfolio is, we have to maintain these things. Underlying all these things is, as a utility, we have an obligation to serve. So for all practical purposes, utilities are a key need for mankind. And as part of a regulated utility, we have an obligation to serve unless we could not able to serve because of some physical reason or some other reasons. Next slide, please. So the third word I wanted to talk about is sustainable. So CMS Energy is basically like we are more like a sister company to DTE on the other side of the state. And we pretty much share similar values and similar goals. So this is our clean energy plan of starting from 2019 and through 2040. So you can see that in 2019, we were at, you can see that I will talk about the coal first. That is our key goal in the coming 20 years. 20% of energy came from coal in 2019. And prior to that one, we actually retired some coal plants, 7 units. And even today also, we are almost getting about 20% from our electricity from coal. By 2030, it will be down to 10%. And by 2040, it will be 0. That means that there won't be any coal generating assets in our portfolio. That will happen in the next 20 years. The second thing I would like to talk about is the blue one, which is natural gas. We know that coal is one of the highly contentious generating source, but natural gas is also still considered as fossil fuel. So 31% is coming from natural gas as of 2019. It will be only 14% in 2030. And by 2040, it will be only 10%. At the bottom, you see that the 11%, which is renewable. Right now, we are getting 11% of our energy from renewables. It will be by 25%, it will be 25% by 2025, 42% by 2030, and by 2040, it will be 56%. To give you a perspective of what 56% means, that will be about 6,000 megawatts of solar energy coming into in the state of Michigan in the next 20 years. That's 6 gigawatts of solar plants coming into Michigan. It's a significant goal, and we believe that we will meet that goal without any problem. One thing we are also paying attention is customer efficiency programs. Right now, we saved about 10% on electricity new build, which we don't have to spend via new build, but we still believe that there's significant room there. By 2030, it's going to be another 20% of savings will be coming from customer efficiency programs. And by 2040, most probably we'll tap out on the customer efficiency to 22%. So what it says is all about is how we are transforming our generation portfolio in the next 20 years. The orange one is the energy storage. Right now, majority of our storage is coming from our pump storage facility, which is Ludington Pump Storage. And DT is our partner there, 49% ownership, and we own 51% there. It's a big, huge facility. It will continue to be there in our portfolio, but the increase in numbers by 2040 comes from the energy storage from battery systems. Batteries have not come to a large-scale deployment yet, but the day is not very far. In the next 3 to 4 years, so you're going to hear a lot more about lithium-ion batteries being used as energy storage system in utilities. So it's a very exciting next 20 years coming up. Last slide, please. Okay, this is what I'm really excited about, modern energy, okay? This brings the most excitement and technology into the utility industry. Right now, we have smart meters. Majority of our customers already have smart meters. If you look at it, smart meters are just collecting data. They are not, they collect tons of data compared to conventional meters. What we do with the data is the value there. Energy efficiency, we just talked about it, so I'm not going to spend more time on that one. The big picture here is the DERs, distributed energy resource systems. If you look at all the various things which may come in the next 5 to 10 years, is going to change the way we think of electricity. It's not, the electrons is not going to change. It's how we manage the electrons and how we deliver the electrons, where it will go and where it comes from is going to be the key. And our appliances, how they behave, how they are using the electricity, at what time they use the electricity, and who is providing the electricity. Your home could be a generator. And all these things, when you think about all this, your car could be a generator. And that's what is going to be changing the future of utilities and how the electricity will be used. So, and for that one, you need significant information technology, artificial intelligence, data analytics, load balancing, and maybe a different way of looking at electricity itself. You know, the distribution system need to be updated. So this is where I think that, you know, the modern electricity utility comes into the picture. Somebody told me at one time that 2 years ago, I was at a conference, they said that, you know, utilities may be more or like start behaving like banks. Banks have these, I mean, they have money, but it's not their money. They are taking money, your savings will be used to give as loans to somebody else. So that's a similar concept, you know, could be a generation may not be the utilities portfolio anymore. Because every house could be a generator, every plant roof could be a generator. And what you do is you take the energy from there and distribute them to wherever they are needed. So that's going to be a key thing to be watching for the next 15 to 20 years. With that one, I will give it back to Simon, and let's see that, you know, what questions we might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Wafi. Our last but not the least panelist is our own Professor Kaisen Wang of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Professor Wang is an expert in renewable energy and alternative energy and system integration, including distributed generation system, electric drive vehicles, and energy storage devices. He has his PhD from Montana State University, master and bachelor degrees from Chongqing University in China, all in electrical engineering. Professor Wang?
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Thank you. David and Ravi just give wonderful talks from utility, industry perspective. Here, I would like to give a quick presentation on the university research, particularly power system related research on sustainable energy development and environmentally sensitive energy use. The ultimate goal here is to achieve clean, affordable, reliable, and resilient energy systems.
Dr. Wang, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I may touch something and mute by automatically. I'm sorry. So here, what I try to say here is some of those grand challenges, like Ravi and David already talked about. It's a long list, but I just list I think the most important ones here. The first one is our grid is getting old and the infrastructure is aging. And you can see from this table on the right bottom here, many of them are actually at the 30 or 40 years old, and some of them, like gas steam turbines are already at 50 years. And so we need to modernize our grid. And also, as we see, there will be more and more renewable generation sources added to the system here. So, but those are intermittent, not as dispatchable as the conventional power sources like those thermal power plants, nuclear or hydro. So we have to find a way to control them so that we can keep the system stable and reliable as needed. And we have seen a new type of loads like charging electric vehicles, and then we see new, more like data centers and computing centers. So this new type of like computing loads, and more than before. And as we just saw last month, there have been more extreme weather events, so we have to deal with. So all of those challenges, for the power system, we have to find a solution to solve it. Next slide, please. And so the first thing, like we believe, in the future, the paradigm of the electricity being generated, transmitted, and delivered will be different. So we believe it will be a hybrid, structure. It will still have the centralized backbone like we have now, but will be combined with more distributed systems, like smart homes, net zero buildings, and microgrids. I'll talk about microgrid in the following slide. And energy storage and demand response are the other two very important approach to address those grand challenges there. Okay, next slide, please. So for microgrids, in the previous slide, you saw those pictures there. Actually, those are the small microgrid we built on campus. We have solar and wind and battery there to support our computer lab. So that computer lab actually is a net zero computer lab there. So microgrid has a very it's a promising platform for integrating distributed generation sources like distributed generation, solar and wind. It can be like a scaled down to nanogrid. So like a home, a building, it's as long as it can stand by itself, or it can be up to like to cover a subdivision or maybe like a campus of a school. So and so as long as there's a group of generation sources and their own load that can be controlled together, can run as standalone, or can be grid collected, then that's a microgrid. So beyond the microgrid, we can see utility distribution networks, and beyond the distribution network, we're going to see the transmission. Now it's the backbone. It's still centralized. So this will be like, as I said before, it will be a hybrid, with the centralized backbone, but with this very promising distributed, energy system there. Next slide, please. Energy storage can provide a lot of functions to the grid. It can do like, to accumulate those intermittent renewable sources, and can provide frequency and volume regulation, which are very important. So not only to keep, our electricity power quality there, but also to keep the whole system stable. And it can certainly act as like a reserve capacity, as like spinning reserve, hard reserve, as well as supplemental reserve there. And the energy storage, of course, can have the different forms. So it can have like a utility scale, like Ravi mentioned, the Lonington, like a pump storage there. And for the battery, we can also have a utility scale as well. People are working on it, like a utility scale battery storage there. And it can be community-based, which would be like hundreds of kilowatt or kilowatt hour there, and can be like a purely distributed, like a Tesla's Powerwall. Each of us can have, at a home. And for the electric vehicles, if they have that vehicle to grid capability there, then those vehicles will be a distributed energy storage as well. So the storage can be stationary or can be transportable. So for example, we could put a battery storage on those trucks, like 18 wheels. So those will be like a mobile, like a storage station there. So I put this Texas map here. That's the power outage of last month, what happened there. So if we imagine if we could have those mobile energy storage, we could put those energy storage at those strategic places. And for example, those natural gas facility, because those things were frozen and could not deliver fuel to those power plants. If we have those storage, the image could be different. And not only those energy storage within the state, for example, if we have those mobile energy storage, the nearby states, they can come down to Texas to help that particular region there. So energy storage will be, I think, an important player in the future, like a power system there. Next slide, please. And also demand response. So traditionally, all the control have been done on the generation side. So the customer participation has become more and more important. So it actually adds another order of freedom for control. So the control can be done both from the generation side and the customer side to balance, the demand and generation. So it can do a lot of things, load shifting and peak shaving. When the customer responding to certain signals, it could be a signals from the control room, or could responding to some incentive signal there, like price, or could be like some emission signals, like environmental signals. So we at the Wang State, we have developed a methodology to estimate, to quantify the marginal emissions at any given location and time. For example, can tell you right now, if you tell me your zip code, I can tell you what is exactly emission related to your kilowatt hour usage there. So people can respond to that, say, should I charge my vehicle right now or may charge later on at different time? Next slide, please. So for my, like the research work, particularly on my team here, so we work on the power systems. We do modeling control on various alternative and renewable energy system there, microgrids and distributed generation there. And we also work on the battery storage systems, working on the characterization and management of various batteries, and also on the work on the power converters to interface those battery storage system there. And also we work on the power converters. So whenever we need to convert electricity from one type to another in a solid state way, then we're going to need this power converters here. So we work on like various DC to DC, AC, DC to AC, AC to DC, those converters for electric vehicles and also for our renewable and alternative energy systems. And for example, the picture you see here, we're currently working on a 180 kilowatt converters for electric vehicles. So I believe that's a quick summary of my presentation here. I look forward to the discussion going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaisen, and Simon, David, as well too, and Ravi. It was a great presentation. Now at this time, I think we are ready to maybe see if you have any questions from our panelists. And in order to ask questions, you can do it two ways. One is unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can also submit your question in our chat box. And then one of our team here can read the question to the panelists and so on. So
it looks like we did get a question in during the presentation. It is some areas of Texas face electricity problems this winter, and things became very pathetic due to add-on water problems. But we are starting electric car projects. So do you think that these projects will have an adverse effect on the supply of electricity to the domestic consumers?
So I guess either, let's see if what David suggests, and then we can go to Ravi.
Yeah, it's a great question. Typically, the way we're thinking about electric vehicles, at least in Michigan, is that for the most part, customers, as we move to that and get increased penetration of EVs, that the majority of the charging is going to happen at night as people come home, charge, plug their cars in their garage or carport or whatever. In that way, it shouldn't have a huge impact. In fact, it should be helpful because, you're not going to have to build new power plants. You're basically filling in what's normally a low load period with additional generation that the grid and the system already has the capacity to fill. So in general, I would say no, but Texas, the issues in Texas, I think were as much technical as they were policy driven. Texas runs their grid on a different policy methodology, and it's not the same as what we have in the Midwest.
Thank you, David. Ravi, what are your thoughts?
Definitely. I mean, I think that it's a great question. I know that, this will come up, Texas will come up, and we are watching the same scenario too, because CMS Enterprises has a big wind project in Texas, 525 megawatt wind project, which came online last year, and it froze. None of our blades rotated. So it is a real problem what we have seen in Texas. We are learning from it. Again, we don't know who's going to be, what failed in this whole process. It's yet to be seen, and we will learn a lot of lessons from that. But again, like David pointed out, the full deployment of EV is at least 5 to 10 years away, and we are already preparing for it. We are looking at how it could impact our grid and generation and demand. And we are making appropriate modeling to understand how to meet that requirement. Again, the EV side won't stop because we cannot meet. We have to meet their demand. So I think that's what eventually will happen.
Thank you, Ravi. Any thoughts from you, Kaisen or Simon?
Yes, for this is with the exponential growth kind of EV, we'll see more EVs hitting the road, and I think we have to address this issue. The new type of demand, for charging those EVs, and like the people talking about the energy storage and distributed generation, the microgrid, that can be a way, together with demand response, they can address that kind of challenge in there without like totally we're going to upgrade our utility grid, like we double our capacity of transformers, circuit breakers, so on and so forth. But if we can do those DERs, we call distributed energy resource there, so we probably can at like a community level, we can try to solve that problem as much as we can before we actually escalate that problem to an even higher level, which means can be a good solution, not only beneficial to the customer, but also beneficial to the utility company as well, because potentially the investment on the upgrade can be reduced or deferred if we can do the management work right. So one of the recent, for example, the proposal we submitted to DOE is we work with a group of building developer. So in that building developer, we put energy storage there. We also have solar roofs there. So we're going to manage the EV charging together with the solar and the energy storage together, trying to minimize the impact on the grid. But certainly we still need the grid to be there. So just, the people, I believe people are working on it, try to find a solution from different aspects. So managing it at the distributed level is one of the approach. So we can use the local resource. So it's like Ravi probably mentioned, it's like a prosumer. So people can also generate and also at the same time they also become a consumer, but they also can be a producer at the same time. So if we can manage that the power flow, as much as we can, so we can minimize like the demand need or the impact to the upper level of the grid. and the system can be more resilient and reliable.
Thank you, Kaisen.
Thank
I
you.
guess you have a question from Ron, maybe?
Yeah, it looks like we got a question from Ron. How are they proposing to communicate and help the electric grid operators incorporate these great ideas? Who best, which industry group should present these concepts and help guide the RTOs in effectively incorporating these significant developments as to avoid chaos as can happen with various media platforms? Take novel concepts to FERC.
Maybe I'll start there. With respect to the RTOs, it stands for reliability, regional transmission organizations, which are responsible for the reliability in various sections of the country. They're typically larger than a utility service territory. In fact, all of them are and include many utilities. And they manage the reliability and operation of the transmission grid, as well as manage investments in that transmission grid as utilities or other stakeholders bring new assets online or new ideas to market. And so, I think it's a good question. I mean, I think the utilities generally bring ideas to the RTOs. I think there's a path for others to bring those to RTOs. FERC was mentioned in this question. FERC kind of governs or regulates the RTOs. So at the end of the day, they're the ones that would make significant policy or methodology decisions that would affect how things are integrated nationwide. But I believe there's a process already in place for this.
I can add a little bit to that one. RTOs, I would say that they are under significant pressure right now. Like the same reasons earlier pointed out, their infrastructure could not have it because they are designed for push technology. They were not designed for this push and pull technologies. And of course, renewables are adding by the numbers are staggering. Last year, here the RTO is MISO. In Michigan alone, in MISO, there are about 4 gigawatts of solar projects who joined the queue last year alone. So what tells this one is, RTOs are slow to react and they have to start taking things into a little bit seriously. Again, this significant investment is involved. Every time a new project comes into the add to the grid, they have to upgrade the grid, and that costs a lot of money, and the construction is involved. So it may take 2 to 3 years to get that grid upgraded for that particular node. So all these things are challenges. There is no simple answer for that, but definitely RTOs knows that what's happening. I'm not saying that they are having a blind eye on this one. They know exactly what's happening.
Can I add one more point to it?
Sure, please.
Yeah, I believe, both from the technical side and also the like a policy side, we have to move forward on this. Take the Texas as example. The RTO, the Regional Transmission Organization, or ISO, Independent System Operator, for Texas is ERCOT. ERCOT can oversee the system there and maintain the system stability, and supposedly also to maintain the adequacy, generation adequacy for that system there. But when like ERCOT makes some suggestion there, we're going to build that power plant and so on and so forth, or build new transmission lines. What I heard is from the people in Texas is it is actually not their final decision to decide, whether to really do it. It's actually the state, like some kind of energy commission there, to make that decision. So I think it's getting to so both. I think technologically we can propose good ideas, but without the policy support, it probably cannot make it happen. So this two sides have to work together.
Thank you. Thank you. You have
All
a
right,
map?
looks like we have another question in the chat from Donald. How could municipal and cooperative utilities work with DTE and CMS to manage loads to mutually benefit across MISO?
I can take this one first, Dave, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, we are already working with a lot of munis and co-ops with respect to their renewable goals, because they have their own members ask for these things. So if it is within within our service territory, we work with them. And if if anybody is interested, please let me know. I can connect you to the right people. And if it is out of our service territory, that's where I come in. Yeah, I work on the CMS enterprises, which is basically the IPP side of the business. And we work with big companies like Facebook, McDonald's, GM to provide renewables throughout the country. I mean, wherever they want it. We can find assets there. We own and operate them and give you the electricity, renewable electricity you needed to meet your own internal goals. So we are already working with them, and munis or co-ops are in the same boat. They are looking for renewables in their portfolios also. So the work is already underway. And if you have if you need any more information, please let me know. Shoot me an email. We'll definitely get back to you.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to add to that. I kind of ditto for DTE. Municipalities and co-ops that are in our service territory certainly contact me if there's any questions or a need to collaborate. We do a lot of work with the munis and co-ops across the state already. So yeah, same answer.
Thank you, David and Ravi, for that. Let me ask Simon to maybe briefly describe the project that he's currently trying to put together with a group of our faculty. Again, today we have Dr. Kaisen Wang here and Dr. Simon Hain. Well, the college has invested since 2012 recruiting additional faculty members in the area of electrification and energy. They're scattered across the college looking at different aspects of this topic. And also we recently were assigned space in a building the university purchased a few years ago, which used to be called Next Energy, basically used to study alternative energy funded by the state of Michigan and MEDC. So now university owns the building, and Dr. Kaisen Wang and a couple of his colleagues are going to be moving into that space to do work in there around, again, electrification, power systems, and so on. And also our mobility team is going to be moving into that space. Again, they're working hand in hand closely. But Simon is also leading an effort in a college. Again, this is an initiative by Department of Energy, Industrial Assessment Center. So Industrial Assessment Center. Simon, do you want to say a few words about what that proposal is about, and see if any of your our people who are on the call can join that effort?
Sure, definitely. Audrey, can you put up the backup slide? So, as you see that this is a call for proposal from DOE about Industrial Assessment Center. As you see in the map that DOE had about 30 some active IAC in the US, but not one is in Michigan yet. So we see this is a really great opportunity for Wayne State to propose a industrial assessment center in Michigan, especially given around that we have so many SMEs, small and medium-sized manufacturing enterprise in the Michigan region. So next slide. So as you see, the objective of the center is really to help business, which I think that DTE and Consumer Powers or CMS has been doing very actively as well. But the DOE really want us to have a university-based center to help the business to do that. The large corporation, they had their own team to looking at all these assessment, but the small business may not be able to afford to do so. And of course, the second very important goal is that they want the university to help to train the next generation of the energy workforce. And all this is towards the goal of doing less zero carbon emission. So next slide. And so what the area that we are focused on is exactly this. One is on the manufacturing technical assistance, helping the SMEs. And then the second one is on the engineering workforce development. Next. So, and here are the focus area that for the SMEs is on the energy and water saving, on the waste reduction, on the productivity improvement, as well as helping the small business look at their cyber security infrastructure, because a lot of the process now involve IoT, involve automated control, so it is important to protect their processes. And also is about smart manufacturing, and that improve the productivity as well as upgrading their expertise and technology to help to be more effective manufacturing in United States. So as you can see that we had in the college, we have many faculty with these expertise to help to assess the industry and to help to upgrade their manufacturing process, and also helping them with the main goal of energy and water savings. Next. So on the workforce development side, what we propose is to build on our alternative energy technology program. And then with that, we will have a new certificate program in energy assessment. We also extend that to the undergraduate certificate in the energy assessment as well. And then we will proposing to have this number of courses like on alternative energy technology, energy assessment, energy and water assessment, energy system, wastewater treatment facility, sustainable manufacturing, and also the cyber securities. So obviously we propose to partner with DTE and Consumer Powers, because they are the energy efficiency expert, and also partner with Ford and GM, since they are manufacturers expert. Even they are the large manufacturers, but they have the expertise of assessing their plant and facility, etc. So that will be very helpful, because a lot of the SCM are the vendor or supplier to the large manufacturer. So it is also in their interest to promote all the energy and water assessment and water efficiency. And we will also look forward to partner with the State Energy Office, with the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, the Workforce Intelligence Network, and of course our longtime partner of Lex Energy as well. So here's just a brief snapshot of what our proposal is about. And if any of you are interested to be partnering or contributing or work together in this project, it will be very much appreciated.
Thank you, Simon. I know this is supposed to be only 1 hour, am I correct? It was supposed to be done at 11:30, it's 11:40 right now. I wanted to, again, thank you, just letting you know that, again, to have a reliable alternative energy source, it's important that we bring other disciplines into this conversation, correct, and other topics, such as we need to have a good data analytics program, which we do have it at Wayne State. Without that, we can't really understand what is going on and be able to save energy if need be. We need to bring a smartness into everything we do. Again, in AI and machine learning, we're trying to build programs around those areas. So we are continuously looking at what are the new trends and try to build program based on our expertise that we have in the college. With that in mind, again, if you need more information or you want to be able to be in contact with our panelists, Ravi, David, Kaisen, or Simon, please don't hesitate to reach them directly or go through Audrey or Claire who are here. They can connect you with those people. And I would like to also invite you to attend our next Coffee with the Dean, which is going to be on April 23rd. And the topics of that Coffee with the Dean would be around cybersecurity. Again, whatever we do today is basically needs a smartness, but needs to be secure. Otherwise, we're all in trouble in every form or shape. So we will be ending our Coffee with Dean for this academic year with cybersecurity, and we will then start again in the fall with additional topics. If you think of topics that you want us to discuss, please don't hesitate to share with us so we can then organize a panelist for that. Again, the PowerPoint presentation and also the session is going to be on YouTube. I can be shared with you. Contact information is there. And I want to take this time to thank our panelists. Also the team behind the scene, Audrey who contacting a lot of you, Claire, and also our central development team who really managed the presentation today. Thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday, and hopefully we'll see you on April 23rd. Take care. Bye-bye.